All praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakaha Kwadash. Double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, where I have learned this truth and where I'm still learning this truth. And Shalom also to the other sincere followers of this truth. All right, so this is going to be part one in the video, in the series, teach exactly what you were taught, with the topic being hell, a cunningly devised fable. Okay, so on the intro we went through 4 words. All right, it was Sheol, hell, Hades, and Gehenna. All right, so we're going to go into I don't know if we're going to make it all the way to the end of this lesson, but these are the four words that we're going to focus on during this lesson. All right, we're going to go into scriptures and we're going to filter the world's idea of hell through these scriptures. All right, let's see what it really says about hell. All right, so hell is a cunningly devised fable. All right, this has been taught, the world view of hell, which is a place where you burn forever. All right, a place where your spirit goes to burn forever, has been taught as a mechanism of control. All right, so let's start with that first word, that Sheol. All right, let's go to Deuteronomy 32 and 22. Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 32, and I'm reading from the 1611 King James edition. Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 32. All right, chapter 32 and verse 22. Okay, so it reads, "For a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall," okay, and hath burned, all right, or hath consumed, okay. Anyway, for a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, all right, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. All right, so right here in this verse it says hell. Okay, now let's go to Genesis 37 and verse 35. All right, Genesis 37. Wait, where were we? I just want to make sure that we came from Deuteronomy 32 and 22. Okay, now we're in Genesis 37, and we're going to look at verse 35. All right. Now listen to this. It reads, "And all his sons talking about Jacob's sons, all right, and all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, For I will go down into the grave unto my son, mourning. Thus his father wept for him. All right. So right here it says grave. Okay. Um. So before we move on, I'm going to go into the NLT and see what those two verses say. Just out of curiosity, man. It won't hurt to go look. Will this NLT go off or not? Let's see. Deuteronomy chapter 32. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 32 and 22. Now listen to this. Remember in the King James it said hell, but right here in Deuteronomy 32 and 22 it says, "For my anger blazes forth like fire and burns to the depths of the grave." All right? And there's a little asterisk, and down at the bottom of the asterisk it says Hebrew of Sheol. All right? The word that we were talking about. Okay? It reads on. This is still verse 22 of Deuteronomy 32 and 22 in the NLT. All right. I'll start at the top of it. It says, "For my anger blazes forth like fire and burns to the depths of the grave. It devours the earth and all its crops and ignites the foundations of the mountains." Okay, now let's go back to Genesis and see what that says in the NLT. So right there, it substituted that word hell for the word grave, and it also referenced that word Sheol. All right. Genesis 37. Genesis 37 and 35. Okay. All right, and it reads, "His family," all right, Jacob, "his family all tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. I will go to my grave," all right, with the asterisk. Let's see what the asterisk leads to. 35. It says, for Hebrew, says Hebrew, go down to Sheol. There it is again. Okay. So, let me start at Genesis 37. Genesis chapter 37, verse 35 in the NLT. It says, "His family all tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. I will go to my grave mourning for my son," he would say, and then he would weep. All right, so again, you can see how these words are referenced to each other. All right, so in Ecclesiastes, all right, in Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 7, "Why does the dust return back to the earth? Because it is the very destination the Most High gave to the body for sinning." So let's go. Let's go see what that says in Ecclesiastes, all right? Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 7. All right. And it references Genesis 3 and 19, but we'll go there in a second, all right? This is the King James Version, Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 7. It says, "Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. All right. So let's check that where it's referencing. Genesis chapter 3 and verse 19. Let's see what it says. How do you get understanding? Precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. All right. That's paraphrasing a verse. I don't know exactly what book, chapter, and verse that is, but that's how you get understanding. All right. What did I say it was referencing? Genesis chapter 3, verse 9. Is that what I said? Maybe. Let's see. Genesis 37. Hold on a second, man. Ecclesiastes 12 and 7. Okay. Genesis 3 and 19 is where I'm trying to get to. All right, so Genesis 3 and 19 says, in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. For out of it was thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. All right. So again, why does the dust return back to the earth? Because it is the very destination the Most High gave to the body for sinning. And actually, damn, it was going to send me back there anyway. Genesis 3 and 19, which is what I just read, I think. Yeah. All right, so before I go on to read this in the actually I'll go ahead and read it. So Genesis 3 and 19 again. It says, in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. For out of it was thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. So the destination for the body is the earth. The grave and hell are the same thing, or hell can be a condition played out. For instance, a lot of people when they go to work, they're like they'll mention work as hell, or if they're having a bad day, they'll say I'm going through hell. You know, that kind of reference. All right. That's a condition played out. Okay. It's also a place where the dead abide. All right. It's likened to a place where the dead abide. The realm of death. Okay. The realm of the dead. All right. Or the depths. Okay. So those are what are referenced when you think of hell. Okay. But let's backtrack a little bit, and I want to read these scriptures in the NLT. Okay. Hold on a second. All right. Let's see. And in the GNT. I want to see what that says in the GNT also. So we were going to Ecclesiastes, excuse me. We referenced Genesis 37 and 35 that likened hell to the grave. Let me read that again in the NLT. Genesis 37 and 35. His family all tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. I will go to my grave. All right, which is the asterisk took you to the bottom of the page and it says Hebrew. Go down to Sheol. All right. Then to finish off the verse, it says, it says, I will go to my grave, mourning for my son, he would say, and then he would weep. All right, so again, why does the dust return back to the earth? All right, because that's where, that's the very destination the Most High gave the body for sinning. Now let's see what Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 7. Let's see how that reads in this uh NLT. All right, 12 and 7. All right, Ecclesiastes 12 and 7 in the NLT. It reads, for then the dust will return to the earth, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. All right, now let's go to Genesis 19, 3 and 19 and see what it says in the NLT. All right, Genesis 3 and 19. It reads in the NLT, it reads, by the sweat of your brow will you have food to eat until you return to the ground from which you were made, for you were made from dust, and to dust you will return. All right, so again, the body goes back to the ground, the spirit goes to the Lord, but the ground can be likened to hell, all right, the grave. Okay, so before I move on, let's go to the Good News Translation. All right. All right, hold on a second. Okay. Let's see what this good news says. All right. Start all the way back up at Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 32 and verse 22. And it reads, in the Good News Translation, it reads, my anger will flame up like fire and burn everything on earth. It will reach to the world below and consume the roots of the mountains. Let's see what that is referencing to. It says the world below. This refers to where's the rest of this? World of the dead, right? The grave. So this good news is trying to be a little tricky with the wording. All right. We'll see what it says. And now we'll go to Genesis 37 and 35. Let's see what it says here. Shit, about trying to be tricky, man. Genesis 37 and 35 in the GNT. All right. And this is what I mean about having your foundation, because these other translations can go off. They will go off. And if you don't have a foundation, it'll throw you off, man. You'll start thinking something false. All right. So what did I say? Genesis 37 and 35 in the GNT. It says, all his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted and said, I will go down to the world of the dead still mourning for my son. So he continued to mourn for his son Joseph. Again, it's this good news is trying to play games. All right, now in Ecclesiastes 12 and 7, let's find out why the dust will return, why the dust returns back to the earth. All right, Ecclesiastes 12 and verse 7. Hold on, give me a minute. All right, why can't I find this now? This is crazy. All right, my bad. So give me a second, man. I know it's an old. I'm tripping. Yeah, why can't I find this, man? Spending too much time flipping through these pages. Hold on a second. All right, this thing's about to. Hold on. Oh, it was right here. All right, yeah. Anyway, Ecclesiastes 12 and verse 7 in the NLT. All right, it reads, "Our bodies will return to the dust of the earth, and the breath of life will go back to God who gave it to us." All right. So now the Good News Translation would have to explain if he's talking about going down to the what do you say? To the world of the dead. How can he go down to the world of the dead and the breath of life go back up to the Lord? You can't do that. You can't be down in a place where you're burning forever, the land of the dead, and go back up to the Lord. You can't. You have to be in one place. Anyway, yeah, this good news is it's playing around with these words, man. So what was that I was in? Now let's go ahead and go to Genesis 3 and 19. See what it says here. I should be able to find Genesis easy, right? It's the first book. Can't believe that Ecclesiastes gave me that much trouble. Genesis 3 in verse 19 in the Good News Translation. It reads, "You will have to work hard and sweat to make the soil produce anything until you go back to the soil from which you were formed." All right, you were made from soil and you will become soil again. All right, so it speaks pretty clearly when talking about that. But so the destination of the body is the earth again. All right, the grave and hell are the same thing, or hell can be a condition played out. All right, the place where the dead abide, or the realm of death. Where do the dead abide? In the ground. All right. Where's the realm of death? All right. That can be the valley of death. All right. Have you ever heard that before in the scriptures? All right. Or the realm of the dead, or the depths. All right. The pit, a grave. Okay. So Job was in hell while Satan was afflicting him. All right. All the way up until the Lord restored him double. Okay. Job, went from a heavenly state to a hellish state and back to a heavenly state on the earth. Okay, the Old Testament believers knew that after the body died, the spirit would immediately be taken up before the Lord. All right, we're going to go to the parable of the rich man and Lazarus. Okay, because it's specifically in Luke 16 and 23. Let's go here really quick. Luke 16 and verse 23. All right, it reads, "And in hell he lift up his eyes, being in torments, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom." All right. So Abram, excuse me, did I say Abraham or Abram? All right, so Abram and Lazarus were both believers. Okay, so now let me see what that says in the NLT. Luke 16 and 23. In the NLT, it says, "And he went to the place of the dead." All right, another asterisk. Let's see what it says. It says Greek for Hades. All right. We are in the New Testament, so yes, Hades. All right. So let me finish reading that. It says, "And he went to the place of the dead." All right, Hades. There in torment, he saw Abraham in the far distance with Lazarus at his side. Okay. Now again, let's see what this damn blue letter, not damn, I'm sorry. Let's see what this blue letter says. All right. Luke. All right, Luke 16 and 23. It says, "And in Hades," okay, and it has a little asterisk and it says Hades, the world of the dead. All right. It says, "And in Hades, where he was in great pain, he looked up and saw Abraham far away with Lazarus at his side." Okay. So now it's saying the place where the dead is Hades. That's what it says in the Good News. But let's go to Ecclesiastes. Go back to Ecclesiastes. Chapter 12. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 7. Alright, what is going on with me, man? Alright, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. Ecclesiastes 12, verse 7, in the King James, it says, "Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it." All right, and the spirit. Now keep in mind that part, and the spirit. All right. That blue letter kind of upset me. I hate when they play games, man. So the body, all right, when it says and the spirit, keep in mind that the body is the abode of the spirit while on earth. So this flesh is where the spirit lives, right? While on earth. When the body dies, the spirit goes to heaven, where another body is prepared for it. All right. You read about this in 2 Corinthians chapter 5. Now, I'm going to come back and do the readings of 2 Corinthians chapter 5, all right, since we mentioned that. Okay. But that tells you all about the body and the spirit encased in it. And then when you pass, your spirit goes to heaven where another body is prepared for it, all right? So we're going to do a reading. We're going to do a few readings in 2 Corinthians 5, Lord willing, after this series is over with, all right? So now, let's talk about the word hell, all right? The word hell, all right? This is an English word meaning concealed place or underworld. All right, it is. Hold on, let me see. All right, you know what? I'm gonna stop right there, and I'm gonna title this part one. Instead of putting part one, I'm gonna put Sheol. All right. Okay. And then the next part, Lord willing, I'll title that hell. And then the next part after that, I'll title it Hades. And then the last part, I'll title it Gehenna. All right. So just keep that in mind. All right. But I'm gonna stop right there with this video. I'm gonna keep this phone up. Anyway, I'm gonna cut it right there. Lord willing, we'll be back with the rest of the series and clear up this fable, this cunningly devised fable that is called hell. All right. And as a matter of fact, I'll probably do a reading of 2 Corinthians, the 5th chapter, in between this one and the next parts of the series. So with that, I'd like to say all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakaha Kwadash. Double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, where I have learned this truth and where I am still learning this truth, and also shalom to the other sincere followers of this truth. All right, shalom.